So what has been, in your opinion, the most difficult thing so far about serving as mayor for Neeepawa?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever been asked quite that way. The most difficult, is that what you asked me?
Yeah.
I think the most difficult thing is, whether you own a retail business or whether you run for council, you want to please people. And I think that's why I got into owning my own business. And, obviously you want to make money and you want to be successful and you want to be your own boss. But at the end of the day, you want to bring to people what they want, right? So, services, right? And I think the same thing occurs in council. So people get on council because they want to make the community better. So I think that's where the difficult part occurs, right? Because unfortunately, to make things better, like take perpetual care, for example, at the cemetery, you're going to offend a certain part of the community, right? And I think that's the difficult part, right? Because it's never the intention of anyone to get on council to offend people. But unfortunately, because we work on a majority rule, and if you believe, and if you get 3 other people, or myself, if you get 4 people out of a council of 7 that agree, then that's going to be the new rules and the new bylaw. So I think that's been the most difficult thing, is knowing that what you're doing is what you believe is in the best interest of the community, and you really believe that, and I really believe that. But you know that there are going to be some people that go, well, you know what, I think that was a mistake, and I wish you hadn't done that. So I think that's probably the most difficult thing, that knowing that there's always going to be the other side of that coin.
Do you get a lot of feedback directly into the office and to yourself, or does it mostly happen in the papers?
Yeah, it's a little bit of
town?
both. I think it just depends on the subject and what's going on. I think I learned that in retail too. All the years I owned my business, 99% of the people are extremely understanding and understand that every decision you're going to make is not going to be one that they like, but they understand that this is the way the system works, and you're always going to have that. And I'm not even disagreeing with that. I mean, we see it. We're seeing it occurring with the vaccinations, right, and the masks, right. You're always going to get that percentage of the population that disagrees, and that's democracy at work.
Yeah.
So I think it comes from all points of view. I'll be honest. I've never had anything really, really, really bad to happen to me in my 3 years. Maybe I'm old enough that they think, we'll bug somebody younger, but I don't know. So no, I've been fortunate.
Or experienced enough that you're like, you don't let it get to you.
Yes, I know. I see it in administration. I think that's where, again, I think we can rise above that as an elected official and say, you know what, okay, we're elected and, we're doing what we can best. But I think the administration, I think it actually hurts. I think it offends them, not offends. I think it hurts them. I think they feel the need to try to justify, and
they take it personally.
Yeah, they take it personally. That's exactly right, Rain. They take it personally, and I understand that, right? Because it's the same old story. If you sat in that same chair for 10 or 15 years, that's right. They take it personally. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So again, I think that's what council's role is, though, right? I think council has to step in and go, yes, okay, administration did make that decision. They did move forward that, but don't forget that was council telling them to do that. Yeah. Right. So you know what? If you're going to have a big pushback, then talk to council.
Yeah. So I just wanted to circle back to the planning district a bit, just to sort of understand how that does work, like what your role is there, what decisions are made on that level.
Okay, well let's go back to on a simple level, I guess. I mean, there are bylaws and there are policies in place for what can occur in our town, right? I mean, what you can build, what your setbacks have to be, what your side setbacks have to be. Yeah. Occasionally it will come to the planning board, and occasionally it will come to the council about someone saying, well, I want a variation, right? And you can understand that. We live in a town that's got, the first house I bought in Neeepawa was on a 27-foot lot. Well, you know what? 27-foot lots don't work well in the 21st century, right? So, but they still exist, right? And so, those are the decisions you have to make, right? Because we don't even have any control on those. Or those are on our map, and you know what? People are allowed to build on those.
They exist.
Yeah, exactly. They exist. So again, so you've got to make the best rules you can for that to move forward, and then you get into little things like heights of fences and things like that. So that's been interesting. But then you start getting into the next level, right, which is developments, right? Whether it be so let's take the one across from beside the water tower. I call it the Hawken property there, right? It was sold to a group, and they're going to be, and it's common knowledge in the community now, they're going to be putting modular homes in there, modular home park. Yeah. So that has now gone from the planning board's level up to the government of Manitoba. They have to sign off on it, and they give all the approvals. They're comfortable with that, and there's no issues with existing farmers or taking away agricultural land, and then it'll come back to us, and then it'll go to a public hearing, and if there's anyone that's unhappy or that doesn't think it's inappropriate, then that'll occur there. So that one happened. The CN property, there was one where the town, and Ken Waddell will tell you that, he was back in the very beginning, he was part of that when they bought the CN property. And so the town had good vision. They wanted to turn that into a development, so again that had to go through all the hoops of the planning board and up to Manitoba and back, and that was a big learning curve for the town. They had never done anything like that before, and I think Colleen would say it was a huge exercise, and I think she'd like the opportunity to do one more just because she knows now what she's doing. But
I think she'll have that opportunity.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so that was interesting. We have the Bray property out there. Of course, they've been talking about doing some development out there, and that's now up. That's gone up now too for some commercial property along the highway there, and then you get out into Rosedale, and you get out into Lansdowne. Now you're into farming. You're into people putting up hog barns or chicken barns or.
And those can be very controversial.
Yeah, those can be very
projects.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, because you're absolutely right. And then, of course, you've got a lot of subdivisions going on. We have a lot of, farmers that are getting back, a lot of baby boomer farmers, and now they're retiring and they're subdividing off their farmyards so they can stay there, and they can sell their land, and so that's all interesting too, right? So that's been. And again, I'm very fortunate to sit on a board where you've got Michael Pork, who's there, and Murray Parrott, and Robert Scott. And these guys have been there for, a long time. So they have a really good understanding of that. So,
But it's a wide variety of stuff then. It's pretty much anything that is built.
Yeah, and it's democracy at work. What I've learned is at the end of the day, anyone can request to come and talk, right? There are rules, there are regulations, but normally if you have a desire to come and talk at any level to any board, you're going to be allowed. Yeah. So I do like that. I like the fact that people can always, they can't say, well, you know what, you did that without me. Well, no, we do have a format that works, and we do have the rules, and if you want to engage and be part of that, that's your decision. Yeah. So I've enjoyed that.
So how much preparation do you have to do that goes into your decision making on council? Like, how much do you get on the ground and sort of see what's going on? Is there a lot of paperwork?
Yeah, no, it's not a lot of paperwork. I have to admit that the administration does most of the paperwork. But you know what? Sitting at the council table, we. And it may be over multiple meetings, right? So lots of times maybe we'll talk about something and say, okay, these are our thoughts, right? So what do you think? And then people will say, well, I'm not sure. I like that idea. I don't like that idea. And then we'll say, well, we'll table it for this meeting, and it's being done before the meeting, right? And so then next meeting we come back and everybody's had a chance to think about it, and then we're more likely to put a proposal together and say to administration, like, what do you think? So administration will sit on the sidelines. They do have input and they do have their own opinions, but at the end of the day they will take direction, right? So Colleen's already said you can make a bad decision, but I'm going to tell you it's a bad decision. But that doesn't stop us from making the bad decision. But so obviously we're going to normally follow the guidelines of what our administration tell us, and again, we've been very fortunate. I know I've heard that out in the community before, that we're a council that doesn't. We've had some councils where there's been a lot of pushback at meetings and stuff like that. And you know what? We've been a very, very much a conciliatory council. But I don't think, I've made that discussion before. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we are like-minded. Yeah. I think we all have the best of our community, and
Yeah.
You know, I don't think sitting in a meeting on camera or in public, you know, railing away at someone else saying, you know, I think this is a terrible idea and I don't know why you're doing it. I would much rather see those discussions occur before that meeting. And then, you know, when you do get there, if there is dissent, that's why you have the vote, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
I mean, that's why we have a council,
yeah.
not just a mayor,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know I feel good about that. I know people like drama. They seem to think that's maybe that's entertaining to watch, but no, that's.
I will take my politics without drama. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Anyhow, no, I've been very fortunate that way, that we have everybody on that council is very respectful, understands that even though they don't agree with your position, that you have your right to your position, and eventually it'll come to the table and the vote will be taken.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we're looking at in NACTV in general right now is a lot of the new businesses that are popping up. People are starting businesses in Neeepawa. You yourself started a business. What was that like when you did it? Compared to now, especially.
I'm going to be talking to the Big Idea people, like Marilyn Cruz running a Big Idea on Thursday, and she gets me to do the opening remarks. And you know what? I was just thinking about that today when I was thinking about what I was going to say to them. You know, I'm always now in hindsight. You know, when you're in the moment, you don't realize how much courage it took to do that, how much dedication, how much hard work. You know, you're just rolling the dice, right? I mean, you know, you're right. Lots of people in this community were just like us back in, I mean, we came in 76, which I know is a long time ago, but, you know, we didn't know anybody. We came from Winnipeg and southern Manitoba, so we stepped into a really foreign environment, and so I mean, it takes it's an interesting. Private enterprise is a world in its own, right? And you have to have that ability. I guess I used to use the line with the guys that worked with me was that, you know, that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and that was one of the lines I always used, right? Because it really didn't matter how good the day was going or how bad the day was going, you knew the sun was going to come up tomorrow. And I think that's just what business is. Business is you just have to always be projecting the best, right? Because you have to be very optimistic to be in business.
And a lot of these businesses now are coming from our newcomer community.
Absolutely, and good for them. I mean, and I think I agree with you. I think that newcomer community is very much small business oriented. I think that comes from, you know, where they came from, and they very much want to own their own business, and they very much want to own their own real estate, and they want to be successful in their community, right? And they want to become Canadians, and they want their children to become Canadians, and they're very much committed to this country.
Yeah. Although one of the things with that community as well is that the vast majority of people in the community are not citizens yet.
No, that's exactly right.
Which I think maybe poses some challenges for the council, because there are not a lot of people from that community who can run for council, who can vote for council.
I know.
So what measures can we take to make sure that those voices are being heard in terms of
I think
town policies?
I think that's one of those problems that time will solve.
Yeah.
Like, I just think, time will solve that, right? Because we do have a lot of, we do have that turn. I think it's 10 to 50% turnover in a High Life every year, heading off to someplace else. But that means 85% are still here.
Yeah.
So I think that will solve itself, right? I think I've always been a big believer in that generational turn, right? So you know what? They started here, and really 09 was 11 was probably right in there where most individuals started coming. So we're 10 years in.
Yeah.
So the next 10 years, the turn's going to occur, right?
Yeah.
That's what I really believe that that generational turn, and then I think I know we've discussed that at the council table. It would be great to have someone run for council from the Filipino community or from the newcomers, and whether they win or lose, it would still be great for them to run. But I think that is going to take care of itself.
Are there ways that we can encourage participation? I mean, aside from part of the reason I'm doing this program is to make sure that everyone understands how council runs, what council does.
I know. So I think that that's perception too, right? Because I think they come from a society where we weren't as maybe not as democratic, but maybe not as open as we are here in Canada with our councils, right? I think they need to understand that they need to understand that it's a very safe environment to be in, right? Like, there's nothing bad that's going to happen by being part of any of these things that we do, right? I think they have going back to the way that they had, I think they're a little more leery of what occurs here. But I think that's going to take care of itself. And you're right. I mean, I've said that if I was I'm sure you would think the same thing. If I was younger, I'd love to be able to speak Tagalog. I mean, I think
it's never too late.
I know, never too late. But I mean, that is one of the issues, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that language is such a difficult thing, right? And that's just a time thing, right?
Yeah. But I know as far as outreach, I think, and I think Deputy Mayor Headley mentioned this as well, when new groups coming into High Life, you guys do go and speak to groups and introduce.
Yeah, I'll be talking to a group of 32 tomorrow. I used to see them in person. I loved it much more in person. You know, you could walk in and...
We'll get there again.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, they loved it, right? I mean, they would all get a picture with me afterwards, and they really enjoyed that, right? So I'm talking to a group of 32 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they'll still be in Winnipeg. They'll be in their 2-week quarantine. Yeah. And they'll be on Zoom, of course, so they're just doing it from their hotel rooms. And it's not as great. But you know what? You can just, I tell them the same thing, and we just talked about, you know, they just went on a flight for 11,000 kilometers, and they're coming to a brand new country. They've said goodbye to their parents and their families, and I mean, the courage to do that, right? To come to a new country, right? And to say, this is going to be my life, right? And I don't know when I'm going to see you guys again. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to afford to, to visit you or you to visit me. And I'm going to start a new life. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it, right?
It's a huge undertaking. It really is.
It really takes us back to, I'm Irish, Scottish background when my great-great-great-grandparents came in the potato famine, right? But that's all past history now, right? Whereas this is current history that's occurring right now, right? Mm-hmm. But it's no different than what we went through. It's just that that connection has been lost, right?
It really has over time.
Yeah. Now
even with the people who came in, early 1900s, Ukraine, Poland.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the new group, and good for them. Yeah, no, I have nothing but respect for these people that have come in and to do what they do. And
we're in a position now, and we were talking earlier about the growth of the town. This is really what's driving the growth of the town.
Oh, absolutely.
Is immigration and birth rate, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think last I was told the school system is now 60 to 70%, the new community, Filipino community. And I mean, you're right. We're being driven. Yeah, no, it's interesting times, isn't it? I know, and and I've said that before. As me being the on the other end of it now. Living here for 45 years, and now the seniors. It's been a challenge, right? I mean, Neeepawa was so much the same for decades, right? It never really changed, right? And like I said, that 09 to 11, when High Life really started to ramp up, that's when the community changed. And then I've actually always been impressed with how the community has embraced the new world, because it obviously changed. I mean you're right. I mean, all of a sudden this town is exploded with population, and we still don't have enough housing, and we don't have enough places to put all these people, and we're fortunate that the government stepped in with a new school. But I mean, eventually that will fill up too. I mean, we've always been lobbying the government for a new hospital. I mean, we're still hopeful. This government still has 2 years. Brandon got theirs, and Portage got theirs, and some in southern Manitoba. So we're hopeful. So
that's something that's been talked about for probably a couple of decades now.
Oh my God!
And where it's going to go, and what
I know. But you know what? If they're looking at any place to come to, I would suggest Neeepawa in this particular part of the world. I mean, why wouldn't they?
And I think in that sense too, looking down in the Morden Winkler area and the kind of system they have set up there for healthcare and their hospital there, and the kind of population boom that they've seen as well, we can sort of model. There's some things I wouldn't suggest we model after that area, but in this sense, I think that this is. Yeah,
and I agree 100% with you. Yeah, no, I think the government recognizes that, and I mean it's been a challenge for the provincial and federal governments. We know that with the pandemic and all the money they've had to flow and all the changes they've had to make. But I don't know. You're right. It's an interesting time, isn't it? Yeah.
On many levels.
Yeah, on many levels. That's right. Yeah.
So a big part of the program on the decision makers is really to, and I've used this phrase before, demystify the process.
Okay.
So is there anything that you want to share about the process of getting into council, working on council, running council, that would be helpful for people to understand how it actually works? short of running themselves, or maybe in the future running themselves.
Yeah, well, I guess, you're right, this council is a really good example. I mean, everybody on this, 5 of the 7 council, I mean, they came from backgrounds of having no municipal experience that I can think of. Those 5 got elected. So I think that in itself tells you that if you have that burning desire to, and this is Ken Waddell telling me this, of course, now, if you have this burning desire to run for politics, then you know what, it's not that difficult, right? All you have to do is say, okay, I've made a decision that I want to be part of the solution, and so, you go, and I can't remember how many people you needed to get now to sign up, but it's not a great number, 25 or 50, but whatever that number was, and then you get those people, and then away you go. And I think what maybe I've learned is that what I learned was what you think you're going to accomplish may not be what you're going to accomplish. I think that's something you have to remember going in, right? Is that you will change your perception of your role once you get in there, and I think that's probably, I don't know if most people would see that or not. I think we all come in with that perception, right? That we're going to, this is what we want to do, and we're going to make sure it happens. But then when you get there, you realize, okay, so I think you have to be very flexible. I think that's an important part of your personality too. You have to come in and say, okay, I definitely do want to make the community better, and I do want to promote our, a better way of doing what we do, but but it's not that difficult. No, I mean, democracy really is fundamentally pretty straightforward, right? I mean, anyone can step up and take the opportunity to run, and whether you're going to win or not is another question. But there's nothing too mystifying about it, really. I think. Yeah, I mean, you're right. When you sit at that council table for the first few months, you go, okay, this is a little strange. I mean, the volunteer board councils are a little different. They're not quite as intense, and of course, there's no camera. So, but that's never really bothered me. The cameras never really bothered me, because I don't think there's anything I would say whether the camera was there or not. Yeah. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know a lot of councils are not comfortable with the camera being there.
I've been trying. They're pretty resistant.
But I don't really know why, because you are who you are. I mean, the person that you talk to every day, they see you. So what's the difference if they see you through the lens of a camera? I've never had that issue. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but otherwise, no. I mean, it's been interesting. Yeah, like I said, and you know what, you could see in retrospect too, if you had a council that was a little more divisive, if you had administration staff who was a little less experienced, you could see how it would be much more of a struggle and maybe a little bit more challenging. But we're very fortunate that that's not occurring with us.
So right now you are 3 years into a 4-year term.
Yep.
So looking to the future, this is a premature question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've done what you want to do, or is there more you want to get done yet?
No, I think there's still more. It's funny. I think that's exactly, in fact, that's what I want to talk to the council about as we end up in our last year. I think you want to say that, because you don't know who's going to run and who's not going to run. And I think you got to be careful that you don't say, well, you know what, 3 years, we only got a year left. I think you got to make sure you stay focused and you close on that finish line like you did the first 3 years, right? I really think you have to say, you know what, we're going to run to the end, right? So, whether it be our streets, whether it be our rec, whether it be a little bit more in communication, transparency, those are the things that I don't think ever go away. And I think that's something I really want to tell council, is that, you know what, you can't say, well, you know what, we've done a pretty good job here, we'll just kind of coast and then we'll see how the next 4 years goes, whoever's going to run. No, I think you have to treat this as just the last, another 25% of our term, and let's keep going.
So what is your vision of the town 10, 20 years from now?
I don't know. I've never dragged it out that far. You're right. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess, okay, if I had the perfect vision, we'd have a new hospital. we would have not only a new school but a trade school where we could bring in because that's something that's been discussed for people that that don't want to go to university that aren't really sure what they want to do with their careers,
and we need more people in trades.
Absolutely, yeah. And Murray Parrott's really a big push behind that, and whether that be for nurses or truck drivers or there's lots of things, water treatment operators, this is a big discussion that's been going on for a long time, and then the town of Neeepawa is actually very engaged in that. You'll have to ask Murray when you get him here.
I will absolutely ask him that.
Because he's very committed to that. So I think that's an important part. Obviously, we're going to have to continue to expand our real estate and build more houses. We need to do more infrastructure when it comes to Highway 16. That's always been a big push, right? I mean, the government had that plan 15 years ago. I mean, they bought property to put that side road in, and they never have. So that's another discussion. Seniors are going to be a big part of our future. Like right now, because of the huge boom of our high life, our seniors are having a difficult spot if they want to live in a high rise, they can do that. But if they just want to have their own piece of property, and that's trickier right now, right? Because it just is nothing. So that's to me is a big issue. If you want to continue to maintain seniors in our town, we're going to have to figure that piece of the puzzle out. And
people move in from the municipalities into town.
Yeah, but where are they going to move, right? Unless they're moving into the Elks or the Kinsman or an apartment block or Aspen Lee, like that. We're missing that. Everybody wants to be able to be in an area where they can walk, right? I want to be able to walk out my door and step on a piece of grass and go pick up the mail, and that's a really tricky part right now of our town too. But are we? Yeah, who knows? I guess the other part would be, of course, and Marilyn and Murray and people that have been around for a while, they're not desperately, we really would like to see a second industry. I mean, that would be great, right? I mean, to have a second industry would be important. And I think that's, again, not a question of if, it's a question of when, right? I think
we have the workforce.
Yeah, we have exactly. And now we've got the lagoon, and we've got the. That we're going to have enough ability to store up to 500,000 liters of finished treated water. So that to me that's really important too. So that would be a part of the vision too, that we can bring in something else, because High Life's great, but they also bring a huge amount of women with them, right? And the women don't work at the High Life, and it's not their fault. It's a very physical job, and I'm assuming there is a certain component there, but there's certainly the opportunity for an industry, and I have no idea what that would be. But if they would come, that would be a big boom to Neeepawa too. So I think that's what I'm kind of seeing. I don't know.
That's a great vision of a town I would like to live in, and maybe one day city. I don't know what it takes, but
I know, and it's that's kind of a moving target. Like you can be a city when you I think there is a magic drop dead number, but it can take quite a while to get there. So that it brings along its own problems too, right? Like having a full-time fire department and having your own police force, and those things become tricky too. So. We'll let the next councils worry about that.
Well, we were actually running short on time now.
Okay.
It's amazing how fast it flies by.
I know, it always does, doesn't it?
So I want to thank you for joining me today and sharing all this with me. And we will see you all next time on The Decision Makers.